And we had a question, I think Brenda asked that question. So we have, so we had a function f of x, which is negative 2x plus 4 divided by 3. This is a linear function. Therefore, it is 1 to 1. And therefore, it has an inverse function. So step 1. Very good. Y equals negative 2x plus 4 divided by 3. Step 2.
X equals -2.
Step 3. You want to eliminate fractions, right? What will you do? So 3x equals negative 2y plus 4. And then
Subtract 4.
3x minus 4 equals negative 2y. And then y equals. I would recommend divide this by negative 2, which gives you negative 3 halves x, and negative 4 divided by negative 2, which gives you 2. That's one way. So this is step 4, which is your F inverse. Very good. Any questions? Any questions? Is there anything else for me? Okay, let's go over what we covered last time. Okay. So here we wanted to decompose a function, and we found two functions. This is not the only answer, correct answer. We found that the inner function is 7 minus 7x, and the outer function is x squared. For this problem, we went step by step with the same 4 steps to find the inverse. Here we graphed negative 4 raised to the x power. First we graphed 4 to the x, and then we reflected everything with respect to the y, to the x-axis. Then this was a question, I think, on a product. Then we continued solving logarithmic equations. Log base 2 of x is 3. 2 raised to the third power equals x. 3 raised to the x power equals 1 over 81. And this is an exponential equation. The left-hand side has base 3, and the right-hand side has base 3, as long as we replace this by 3 to negative 4. Therefore, x equals negative 4. X raised to negative 1/3 equals 2. This x to negative 1/3 is 1 over the cube root of x. And then we cross multiplied, or multiply both sides by the cube root of x. And we eventually get this. Then we looked at common log. This should have been the notation. Instead is this. If a log does not have a base, we know it's common log, or base 10. If we see instead of log base e, if we see ln, we know it's base e. This is the base change of base formula. We cannot determine by hand log base 7 of 9. 7 raised to this power is 9. So we are using the change of base formula. So if we use common log, we get common log of 9 over common log of 7. Or if we want to use natural log, the same thing, natural log 9 over natural log 7. Then we looked at the word problem, I think, or something, or another exponential equation. E raised to negative 3.7 equals x. The same thing here. We must write that 3x minus 2, and I didn't write it here. 3x minus 2 has to be a greater than 0. So we went along and we changed we, what did we do here? We multiply both sides by 3. No, I'm sorry. So let me say this. 10 to negative 0.8 equals this. We added 2 and then we divided by 3. That's why we got this. And we put in the calculator and we got 0.7195. But I should have written that 3x minus 2 has to be greater than 0. And this is indeed greater than 2/3. 2/3 is 0.66. And I said May 18th, test 4, I think we're talking about. No, this is the final exam, May 18th, final exam. And this is a list of problems that I was hoping that you would look at between Monday and today and ask questions.
So I do have a question on 49.
Good.
Page 728.
Perfect. So let's look at 49 on 728. Do I need my book? Okay, 49 on 728. I think I got it. 49. F of x equals x to the third plus 6. Sorry. And show that f inverse, which is the cube root of x minus 6, 49. If this, show that, okay, got it. Very good. So we are given a function and we have to show that its inverse is this. Good. So this is the function. What will be the first step towards finding its inverse?
I'm going to change it to x, y.
So x to the third plus 6 in step 2.
Change it to x.
Very good. In step 3,
Solve for x.
no,
So
solve for y.
subtract- I'm sorry.
Yes, yes,
Subtract 6.
very good.
And I think that's where I stopped.
So I need a mechanism that will remove this power.
So cubic.
Yes, the cube root. So how much is the cube root of y cubed? Exactly. So that's the cube root of x minus 6. And step 4, perfect. My pleasure. Anything else?
This is page 749. Number 67.
Very good. This is a logarithmic equation. How do I change it into an exponential one?
So it's x to the 1/2 equals 1/7.
Perfect. What does x to 1/2 mean?
Cubed.
Careful.
Square root of.
Exactly. This is the square root of x equals 1/7. So how do I eliminate the square root?
Square root.
Yes. What do I get? Very good. So x equals 1. Very good. Anything else? Then we started chapter 7 with rational functions, and these were examples of rational functions. I do not consider this a rational function because it does not have x in the denominator. A rational function is undefined only when its denominator is 0. How do I find the domain of a rational function? First, I state the restrictions on x, and then I write the domain. Note, very important, only factors can be simplified. never simplify terms. And I was given an example. X is part of a term. X is not a term. It's a one term, but it's a factor here. But I'm not allowed to simplify because this is a term and this is a term. Here, I'm allowed to simplify factors. X is a factor, and I was able to simplify it. So 2 plus x over 3 minus x. We were looking at this function. We're asked to find the values that makes it undefined. And 2x plus 5 cannot be 0, so we know that x equals negative 5 halves will make this function undefined, not exist, in other words. So the domain is anything but it. Negative infinity to negative 5 halves, union negative 5 halves to infinity. Same thing here. We were given another function. We had to state that the denominator cannot be 0, which means x cannot be 0 and 7. And now I can write the domain. Then we were asked just to simplify this rational expression, and this was in order from in a decreasing order. But this one, after I rearrange it, I realize it has a negative leading coefficient, and I have to factor it out. Now I'm allowed to simplify, but not before I write restrictions. This over this is not negative 1. It is negative 1 only if y is not 9. And now I can simplify. So it's 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. Here I was being silly. Then here we were asked to simplify. So we factored x cubed and x minus 10, and we factored this into x minus 10 and x minus 7. We have to state 2 restrictions for the denominator, and 10 and 7, and then we were allowed to simplify by x minus 10. And this was the simplified form, assuming these conditions are fulfilled. And that was another example, the same thing. We factored completely, we stated 2 restrictions, and then we simplified. Same thing here. This was the product. We factored everything, we stated restrictions, and we multiplied. And I think that was one more problem. So x plus 1 over 8 and 16 over x plus 1. I had to state restrictions before simplifying, because I'm not stating restrictions on the final answer. I'm stating restriction on the original problem, on the original function. And then we looked at number 16, where we factored everything. We stated 4 restrictions this time. We simplified, and this was the simplified form, assuming all conditions are fulfilled. Any questions? Okay, I have a quiz for you. If I find it, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Do we need more time?
Yes.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. You're on the right track. I'm not sure why you stopped. Thank you. Okay. Yes. You want to continue? Oh, I'm sorry. You finished? Okay. Two of your colleagues are still working on it. If you want, you can still work on it. Aaron, you still want to work on it? I feel that I need to do this right now. Okay. I'm sorry, this is the quiz for the other class. No, it was a graph. It happens that I'm doing the same thing with them, but it was a graph. It was not the equation. I'll show you. So it's Math 151, and this was a graph. Yeah. Yes. 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 So the left-hand side, remember 1/4 is the same with 2 to negative 2. Okay, so this is 2x minus 1. And 8 is indeed 2 to the third, and everything to 3x plus 4. Now I copy the base, multiply the exponents, negative 4x plus 2. Copy the base, multiply the exponents, 9x plus 12. And remember, we are not canceling, we're not simplifying, we're not doing anything, we're thinking. Two numbers are the same, are equal, and they have the same base. What has to happen to the exponents? One more time. Two numbers are equal, and they have the same base. What has to happen to their exponents? They must be the same. So negative 4x plus 2 equals 9x plus 12. Move 9, negative what? 13x. Move 2, 10, and divide.
That's very close.
Okay? That's okay. That's okay. Good. So now we look at division of rational expressions. And remember last time we simplified, we multiplied, and now we are dividing rational expressions. The process is the same as with numerical fractions, identical process. However, because x is involved, we have a lot more work to do. And I would like to start, let's say, with not a difficult, super difficult problem, like 22. Page 458. So x plus 3 squared divided by 5, and further divided by 5x plus 15 divided by 25. The first fraction, the first rational expression, does not have x in the denominator. So I don't have any restrictions to write at this point in time. The second one does not have x in the denominator, so I don't have restrictions to write at this point in time. How do I divide two fractions? Multiply the first fraction, so I keep the first fraction and I multiply it by 25 over, and I want to factor out the common factor and 5x plus 15, which is the common factor here. Yes, so it's 5, so I have x plus 3. I have a restriction to write at this point. The restriction is caused by the fact that I flipped that fraction because I had to, and now I have a denominator that has a variable in it. So what do I have to write? X does not equal. Very good. At this point, I'm allowed to simplify. What can I simplify? What would you say? Yes, simplify that because you can. Yes, I'm allowed to simplify x plus 3. It's never 0. And what else am I allowed to simplify? Yes, the 5 with 25. What is the simplified form of this expression? X plus 3. And the answer is this. The simplified form is x plus 3 as long as x will never be negative 3. Yes?
You simplified the 5 and the 25.
Yes, 5 times 5 is 25.
No, the cross.
So 5 times 5 is 25. 25 and 25.
So you can do 5 by 25, 5 on top, 5 on the bottom. Then you have to cross out the 5.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Please choose, I would like to choose 27 or 28. Let me do 28. This is not a trivial problem. I repeat, 28 is, I do not consider 28 a trivial problem. Here it is. X minus 3 over 2 minus x divided by x squared plus 3x minus 18 over x squared plus 2x minus 8. I'm going to say that I like 3 out of 4 expressions, but I have one that I don't like. Can you, since you know me a little bit, can you say, I think you don't like that one? The 2 minus x I don't like. Can anyone explain why I don't like 2 minus x? Because it's not in descending order. Okay, now it is. I still don't like it. Exactly. So the numerator stays as x minus 3. How will I rewrite the denominator so I like it? With minus outside. Good. So now I can factor the top and the bottom of the second fraction. So I didn't do anything. I just rearranged stuff so far. Okay. So what will you say about x squared plus 3x minus 18? Very good. What will you tell me about x squared plus 2x minus 8? Good. X plus 4 and x minus 2. Let me reiterate. In a division, I'm not allowed to simplify across. I'm allowed to simplify each fraction by itself, but not across. I can do this only when I change the division into a product. At this point in time, I'm going to state how many restrictions. 2 different ones, right? Because it's the same x minus 2. So I'll say x does not equal and x does not equal. Yes, 2 and negative 4. Now what do I do next? I copy the first fraction, but now look what happens. I have a positive over a negative. What is the sign of the outcome? Very good. So x minus 3 over x minus 2, and I multiply it by, sorry. I multiply it by notice now that I have 2 new factors that I did not have before. Even those have to be not equal to 0. So I need to add to this list. This almost always happens with division of rational expressions. When I flip or I change the division into a product, I may have additional restrictions to state. So what other restrictions will you give me to make the complete list? Right, negative 6 and 3. And now I'm ready. Now I am allowed to simplify. What can I get rid of? And now I can simplify across. X minus 3 with x minus 3. X minus 2 with x minus 2. And the simplified form is negative x plus 4 over x plus 6 if these conditions are fulfilled. Otherwise, the whole thing is non-existent, collapses completely. Please feel free to choose anything you want now from the mixed practice or everything. From 1 through 58, anything you want. I don't have anything else to teach you here, just practice. From 1 through 58. Which one? 54 it is. So 16x squared plus 2x, everything divided by 16x squared plus 10x plus 1. multiplied by 1 over 4x squared plus 2x. This looks awful. By looking at it, would you say 2 out of 3 are easier? 1 is tough. Which one? I think it's tough. From 1 to 3. Which one do you think it's more difficult? 1, 2, 3. Absolutely. 2 is a trinomial and it has 16 in front. Absolutely. The top, no problem. What do I do with the top? Of course. And what is left? Excellent. What do I do with number 3? Of course. And what is left? Okay. Now, let's look at this one that I claim is tough. I'm hoping that one of the 2 factors that will come out from here is this. I hope. I don't know. But the only thing that could be simplified is this 2x and 2x. 2x plus 1 will not go away. So I'm really hoping that this one has an 8x plus 1. If it has an 8x plus 1, what should the other one be? 2x plus 1. Okay, that was if you want a lucky guess. Yeah, you looked at this and that. Okay, now what will I do if before I'll come back to this. We didn't finish it. But let's assume now we don't see that. How will you try to factor this? Yeah, it was nice. We came up with this. I saw 8x plus 1. Okay, what if so, okay, but assuming I don't see that. Because in a test situation, you may not, right? So how will I factor this? What should I do? Remember, it's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, because if I write a special product, this will be 4x plus 1, but I'll never get that. 2 times 4x plus 1 is 8x. So it's not this. So I need 2 numbers whose product is 16 times 1, and whose sum is 10. Yes, so I will write 16x squared plus 8x plus 2x plus 1. What do I do with 4 terms? Yes, so from these 2, what will I factor out? What is left in parentheses? What should I have from the other 2? I need sign and factor. So then I know that the factor form is common factor comes out, and in parentheses, okay, so now I can come back. I have to state 1, 2, these are the same, 1, 2, 3 restrictions. So what will you tell me to write? X not equal, X not equal, X not equal. You cannot say 2 not equal 0 because of course 2 is not 0. And the restrictions are X not equal over 8. I move 1 and divide by 8. Very good. The other one. Very good. Excellent. And finally, 0 indeed. Now I'm free to simplify. Okay, what goes away? Yes, 2x goes away. 8x plus 1 goes away. And the final simplified form is, what is left at the top, first of all? Yes, 1, please, over. Thank you. Assuming these conditions are fulfilled. Otherwise, nothing exists. It's all gone. Undefined. Very good. Do we need more examples with division? If you say yes, please choose. Division and multiplication.
Seven.
47. Very good. Good pick. 47. 47. 8n squared minus 18 over 2n squared minus 5n plus 3. Everything divided by 6n squared plus 7n minus 3. Everything over n squared minus 9n plus 8. That's another tough one. Mean. Absolutely mean. From 1, 2, 3, 4. From 1, 2, 3, 4. Which ones do you think need more work? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which ones?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Because they are, first of all, trinomials, and the leading coefficient is not 1. Yes. This needs work. This needs work. Okay. So let's start with 8n squared minus 18 first. What do I do with 8n squared minus 18?
2.
Very good. And what is left in parentheses? It will wait. Yes, not a problem. Good. Now, these two I need to work. Can anyone factor this for us? N minus 1, n minus 8. Perfect. Thank you. So now, I have to take 2n squared minus 5n plus 3 aside. I need two numbers whose product is perfect and whose sum is. So now two numbers whose product is 6 and whose sum is negative 5. Did I copy it correctly?
You do, but there's a 2 in front of that.
So it's 2. Where is it?
Minus 5.
Okay. So two numbers whose product is 6. Both numbers have to be negative because the sum is negative. Very good. So 2n squared minus 2n minus 3n plus 3. What do I do with 4 terms? Good. So from the first two, what comes out? Very good. What is left in parentheses? Perfect. What has to come out from the other two? Now? Perfect. Common factor is out now, which is n minus 1. And in parentheses? Perfect. So I'll put it back in here. N minus 1 times 2n minus 3. And now I'm working on 6n squared plus 7n minus 3. I need two numbers whose product is and whose sum is. Negative 18. Good. Since the product is negative, one must be and the other one must be good. So, and the numbers are Very good. Excellent. 6n squared plus 9n minus 2n minus 3. What do I do with 4 terms? What comes out from the first two? What is left in parentheses? Good. What should come out from the other two? Now I look. Yes. So I factor out 2n plus 3. And what is left in parentheses? Very good. So now I go back to my problem. I put 2n plus 3 and 3n minus 1. So here's what I have so far. 2 times 4n squared minus 9 over n minus 1 times 2n minus 3 divided by 2n plus 3 times 3n minus 1 over n minus 1 times n minus 8. I need 1, 2, 3, 4 restrictions before I flip. What restrictions am I talking about? Perfect. Oh, 3 restrictions because I have n minus 1 the same. Just 3 restrictions so far. Perfect. Perfect. Remember, I cannot simplify in a division across, in a division. I can simplify these two here, whatever I have. No, nothing so far. I can simplify these, top and bottom, but nothing so far. So now, I continue. 2 in front. What do I do with 4n squared minus 9? We have 4 formula.
2n minus 3 and 2n plus 3.
Very good. Now I flip the second fraction. N minus 1, n minus 8, 2n plus 3, and 3n minus 1. I need to add 2 more restrictions. These are new factors in the denominator that I did not have before. So I need 2 more restrictions, please. Very good. And the last one? Perfect. Only now I'm free to simplify common factors. Can anyone give us any common factor that goes away? N minus 1 goes away. 2n plus 3 goes away. 2n minus 3 goes away. And what is the final simplified form?
2 times n plus 8.
You don't have to distribute it. Yes. Over?
3n minus 1.
Excellent. This is the correct answer right here. This division simplifies to 2 times n minus 8 over 3n minus 1 only if all these 5 conditions are fulfilled. Perfect. Do you think we can move on? Did we have enough concerning multiplying and dividing rational expressions? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go back. I'll go back. In the next section is really nothing. We are adding and subtracting. Finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We are adding and subtracting rational expressions with the same denominator. Really nothing. So please choose whatever you want. On page 466, from 1 through 20. 1 through 20 on page 466. Adding rational expressions. Adding, subtracting rational expressions with like denominators. Nothing. really. Okay, I will choose 14. In 14 we have 3x minus 1 over x squared plus 5x minus 6 minus 2x minus 7 at the top and the same in the denominator. When we add and subtract fractions, we don't even look at the numerators, in the sense that we don't factor, we don't simplify anything. We don't do anything to the numerators till the very final step. I have to factor the denominators, however. Since the denominators are the same, this negative sign acts like it's in front of a parenthesis 2x minus 7. So this acts like it's like this. So it needs to be distributed to negative and we get negative 2x plus 7. So I will copy one denominator, I will factor it, and then you'll tell me what to write at the top. Can anyone factor for us x squared plus 5x minus 6?
X minus 3.
Careful. I will not get a positive 5.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Minus 1 plus 1.
Okay. So you immediately will give me two restrictions on x, which are
1 minus 6.
perfect. And now please dictate what I should write at the top. Good. So now what is left at the top?
X plus 6.
I already stated my restrictions. I'm ready to simplify. Does anything go away?
X plus 6.
What is the final simplified form assuming conditions are fulfilled? Say it again. Top is 1 over. So this is the final form. That's all I can teach you in this section. Anything you want, 1 through 20. Because the next section is the real thing. Okay, I will choose 20 on 466. 7x plus 1 over x minus 4 minus 2x plus 21 over x minus 4. You will give me how many restrictions? 1, of course. What restriction will you give me? X not equal 4. Then you will tell me to write one fraction line with the denominator, which is the common denominator, which is x minus 4. And what will you tell me to write at the top?
7x plus 1 minus 2x minus 21.
Excellent. The denominator stays, but what will be left in the numerator?
5x minus 20.
Very good. Can I do anything to that?
Factor into 5.
Very good. What is left in parentheses?
X minus 4.
Good. I already stated my restrictions. Can I get rid of anything?
Yeah, x minus
Final simplified form?
5.
5. If x does not equal 4. And I would like to look or move to the real thing. Adding and subtracting, this is the most difficult. This is the most difficult type of problem. Adding and subtracting rational expressions. And then the next section is solving equations. rational equations. So this is section 7.4, adding or subtracting rational expressions with unlike denominators. Okay, I would like to start with problem 38, and the page is 472. 9x over x minus 10 minus x over x minus 3. I want to draw your attention to a numerical situation because it doesn't look identical, but it is identical. Okay? So if I have 1/3 minus 1/2, I need to find the least common denominator, which is right, because 3 and 2 have nothing in common. So it's the product. Now I'm asking myself, 3 was multiplied by, I have to do the same thing to the top. 2 was multiplied by, I have to do the same thing to the top. What will I write at the top? 2 minus 3. And the answer will be negative 1/6. Same procedure here. I take x minus 10, and I know I cannot further factor it. I take x minus 3, and I know I cannot further factor it. What will be the least common denominator? This is like 3 and 2. 3 is not factorable, 2 is not factorable. They have nothing in common, and you told me perfectly 6. Now, what will be the least common denominator? It has to be the product of those two factors. Of course, you will tell me or give me two conditions or restrictions on x. Yes. And then please give me the least common denominator. One more time. Very good. Now carefully, please pay attention what happens next. I have to find the adjustments. Here's how I asked myself, in the same way I found 2 and 3, exactly the same way. X minus 10 times what is this? X minus 10, like 3 times what is 6? This times what is this? This is what I have to multiply the top by. This times what is this? This is what I have to multiply the top by. Now carefully, slowly, please tell me what to write. Very good. 9x squared minus 27x. Excellent. So 9x was distributed to x. I got 9x squared. 9x was distributed to negative 3, and I got negative 27x. Now I have to be very careful because I have to distribute x but also minus in front. So negative x times this, negative x times this. Negative x squared, but plus 10x. Do you all agree? If you understand this, you will have no difficulties with the next section. Okay, now I have to combine like terms. What do we have at the top? Very good. I have a negative 27x, and I have a positive 10x. So minus 17x over x minus 10, x minus 3. No one can do anything to 8x squared minus 17x unless you want to factor out an x, but you will not be able to further simplify anyway. So this is the final form. When we subtract these two rational expressions, we get this ugly expression. assuming that x is not 10 or 3. Okay? I want you to work on one problem. Like 37. 2x over x minus 7 minus x over x minus 2. Slowly, step by step. Please let me know if you need help. Can anyone first dictate the restrictions, please?
7 and 2.
Perfect. Can now anyone give us the least common denominator?
X minus 7 with x minus 2.
Can anyone please give us the adjustments for the tops of those fractions? If you write 2x minus x, I cannot give more than 0 points. Even if you find the least common, no, I have to take that back. I will give points for the least common denominator. But if you write at the top 2x minus x, I know you don't know how to add fractions or subtract fractions. I don't want to see that, please. Please. Okay? Good. So what are the adjustments?
X minus 2 times 2x.
Very good. So for the first one, I have x minus 2. Very good. Excellent. And for the second one, I have what it does not have. What it does not have. X minus 7. So what would you tell me to write right here at the top?
So x squared minus 4x minus x squared plus 7.
Excellent. Good. So then what we have? Even if you factor out an x, there is no x plus 3 here to simplify with, so that's good enough. Okay. These were a little bit of a warm-up. Yes, it gets tough. 44. X over x squared minus 4 minus 5 over x squared minus 4x plus 4. This I consider far from being trivial. I'm looking for more paper. I do have it, but it's buried in here. Yeah. Okay, let's do this together, please. I take x squared minus 4 aside. How do I factor this?
X minus 2x plus 2.
Excellent. I take x squared minus 4x plus 4 aside. How do I factor this? And it's that formula that at first you didn't want to believe me that it's important. Excellent, yes. Okay, here's how I think at this point. Here's how I find the LCD at this point, please. I look at this side and I say to myself, oh, I see two different factors. I see x minus 2 and I see x plus 2. Those factors must be in the LCD. If I have 10 different factors, 10 different factors in there. However, this is not done. I have to look now at the exponents power of each of these factors. X minus 2 has power 1 in the first denominator, but has power 2 in the second denominator. I cannot add powers or subtract powers, but I have to choose the highest. If this one has 2 and this one has 1 and this one has 2, I must choose the highest power, which is the highest among between 1 and 2. 2. I have to use 2 for x minus 2. Now for x plus 2, power 1, and here does not have an x plus 2. It has to stay with the highest power. So then, first of all, you're going to give me two restrictions. What restrictions are you going to give me? Yes? Yes, plus or minus 2. Very important. Okay, now, please give me again the least common denominator because I have to write it here under the long fraction line. Good. Now I analyze. Maybe I should have written it twice. Allow me to write it twice because it may be difficult to see. So from here, I rewrite x over x plus 2, x minus 2, minus 5 over x minus 2 squared. So I rewrite the fractions with the factored denominators. Okay, and now I'm ready for you. You already told me x minus 2 squared and x plus 2. And now I need the adjustments for the numerator, without which I cannot continue. Now up here, it needs what it does not have in the denominator. What quantity this denominator does not have, but this one has? An addition. It has an x plus 2, but it only has one x minus 2. So it's missing the other x minus 2. What is missing from the second denominator, and it's present in the least common denominator, and that's what I need for the top. Yes. Can anyone dictate the numerator now, please? Careful. Yes. Minus, because there is minus here. Yes. Excellent. So now the numerator needs to be combined, like terms. So I combine it, and I get x squared minus 7x minus 10 divided by x minus 2 squared and x plus 2. Of course, x cannot be plus or minus 2. No one can factor the top. And this is it. Including conditions. As I said, it can get very ugly. You feel free to choose now anything from 1 through 60. We need a lot of practice in this section, a lot. Very good. Let's do 60. 6 over 5y squared minus 25y plus 30 minus 2 over 4y squared minus 8y. Total mess. It's a mean problem again. Okay. Or at least it looks at first. I see something there, so it may not be that hard. I start with the first denominator. I rewrite it, 5y squared minus 25y plus 30. Okay. I see three terms. I see that they all have 5 in common. Excellent. What is left in parentheses?
Y squared minus 5 over 6.
Good. Which is not that hard to factor. Good, I'm happy. So how do I factor that?
5 times y minus 2, y minus 3.
So y minus 2, y minus 3. Excellent. We're done with the first denominator. What about the second denominator? 4y squared minus 8y. Excellent. See, once you see certain things, you cannot stop yourself from seeing them, if you know what I mean. Once you understand how factoring works, it will, it's like a foreign language that you've just learned. Good. What is left in here?
Y minus 2.
Good. Okay, so now I will rewrite both fractions with the factored denominators first. So I have 6 over 5 times y minus 2 times y minus 3 minus 2 over 4y, y minus 2. You're not going to give me a restriction for 5, but you're giving me a restriction for y minus 2, 1 for y minus 3, 1 for y, and that's it. So y does not equal, not equal, not equal. Yes? And no, 4 is a factor, it cannot be 0. This cannot be 0. Good. So like before, let's take aside both denominators. So 5, y minus 2, y minus 3, 4, y minus 2. And now the LCD. All different factors must be present in the LCD. How many different factors I see? I see 5, I see 4, I see y minus 2, and I see y minus 3. I don't have to worry about powers because all of them have power 1. So there is no discussion of choosing the highest power for a particular factor. They all have power 1. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factors that make up the least common denominator. 5 times 4 would be 20, y minus 2, y minus 3. This is the LCD. So I go back, write a long fraction line, 20y minus y times y minus 2 times y minus 3. And now please give me the necessary adjustments for the top of those two. Exactly what they don't have.
So is the first one 4y?
4y, because it has y minus 2 and it has y minus 3, indeed. What about for the second one?
5 times y minus 3.
Exactly. I prefer writing it up there multiplied. So I know it's 5. It's 5. Oh, I should have written, yes, y minus 3. So this is 5y minus 15. 5y minus 15. It's not a mistake, but if I write it already multiplied, it will be easier now to distribute negative 2. Good. So please tell me what to write at the top. Perfect.
Minus 10y.
Perfect.
Minus 30.
Careful.
Plus.
Perfect. So then this is 14y plus 30 over 20y, y minus 2, y minus 3. I have to factor out a 2 because I will be able to simplify with the 20. Otherwise, I would have not bothered. So 2, 7y plus 15 over 20y, y minus 2, y minus 3. And yes, I will simplify by 2. Just that, nothing else. 1 and 10. So final simplified form, 7y plus 15 over 10y, y minus 2, y minus 3. Yes, I do have a big handwriting. However, it took us almost 2 pages. Just this. So let me just tell you how many steps we went through and how many concepts we learned just to do this. Okay, first, we know how to factor a trinomial. We factor the greatest common factor, and then we factor this. Then we know how to factor a binomial. We factor greatest common factor. Then we went through all the process of finding what in this case, I'm sorry, y cannot be. Then we found that that's another concept. If we found the least common denominator, then we found the necessary adjustments for the tops of those two fractions once we had the least common denominator. Then we distributed and we combined like terms and we factored the two, and then we simplified to find a final simplified form, assuming these 3 conditions are fulfilled. I mean, I've been talking for 2 minutes just to list the steps. So I don't consider this trivial at all. I think that this is the most difficult part of this course, and radical equations, I think, are also difficult. Okay, please choose another problem because I would like you to work on it right now. Any questions about this problem? (56) 27 over y squared minus 81 plus 3 over 2 times y plus 9. Let me know if you need help, please. Yes? Yes. Yes, no problem. So you put the number first.
Oh.
So yeah, put this number in front here. Let me write it. So factor this so you can see it. Yes, rewrite the first one and then find the adjustments. Yes. Right, so you have 1, 2, 3 different factors. All three have to be.
So that's when it's stated.
Y plus 9 is a linear factor, we cannot factor that.
Okay, so that's gonna be the same, okay.
Yes,
So that's just put in there.
yes.
Here, it's gonna be with this, since there's 2 of them, making 1 plus 9.
No, it's the power that matters, not the fact that you had that particular one is present in 2 different ones. Since the power is 1, you will never have y plus 9 to the second power.
So we just have
2
and 1
and y plus 9.
1 plus.
All different factors have to be equal to each other. And you have 3 different factors. Right. Yes, but let's write first the factor form. So write 27 over that. Plus 3 over that. Perfect. And now the least common denominator is 3 different factors. 2 is a factor, y minus 9 is a factor, y plus 9 is a factor. And now you're asking yourself, what is here? What is here and not here? Exactly, so that's all you need. What is here but not here? So that's what you multiply by. Since you multiplied by this by y minus 9, you have to multiply the top by y minus 9. Yes, not plus or minus 9, exactly, yes. And now you just come up with a numerator.
With the 0 because there's no x. I mean the 2 because there's no x.
It doesn't matter. So you will never write 2 not equal 0, right? So you will write from here 9, but from here negative 9. So plus or minus negative 9. Yes,
Yeah, still. Since this.
yes,
Still, we have that by 1.
exactly. Yes.
So look at this, do you then need to simplify it, or do you not necessarily have to?
I would factor, you can leave it like this or you can leave it like this. I would factor 3 and write y plus 18, only if I can simplify with something, but this is, in general, this is good. But right now, we're not doing anything with it till the next section, so this or this is fine. I mean, both are correct. Yes. Yes, they will. You already stated restrictions. Yes. Let's do this together. I think Brenda had a, unless Freddie is wrong. So yeah. So yes, I didn't. No, I made a mistake by not looking carefully at what how she got to the final step. But you may be wrong. She may be wrong. We'll see in a minute. Uh-oh. No. I'm not.
Fred.
So first of all, I have 27 over y minus 9 and y plus 9. Everyone wrote that. That's very good. And y plus 9. We see 3 different factors. 2, y plus 9, and y minus 9. 2, y plus 9, y minus 9. And I know that y cannot be plus or minus 9. The first fraction does not have 2. So there must be a 2 in there. The second fraction does not have y minus 9. So I have to do that. 2 times 27 is 54 plus 3y and minus 27. I think you forgot the minus 27 or something. You have it? Okay. So then
Oh,
3.
you know what? I didn't subtract it.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. So now I factor out of 3 and I have y plus 9 over 2, y plus 9, y minus 9. Restrictions are stated, so then y plus 9 goes away. So the final simplified form is 3 over 2 y minus 9. Any questions? Any questions? What about 42? Same page, 472. 5 over x plus 1 times x plus 5 minus 2 over x plus 5 squared. Can we work on it, or you need more time? Okay. Okay, 2 restrictions, please. Good. The least common denominator, please. Very good. There are 2 different factors, x plus 1 and x plus 5. Both have to be in the least common denominator. But this factor has power 1 in one and power 2 in the other. Even if it weren't here at all, I would have had to use power 2, the largest power. Okay? Good. So now I have to find the adjustments. What does this need? It needs an x plus 5. What does this need? An x plus 1. What will you tell me to write at the top?
5x plus 25 minus 2x minus 2.
Excellent. And now I combine like terms, and I get 3x plus 23 over x plus 5 squared x plus 1. And this is it. I would like to look at problem 23 now. Y plus 2 over y plus 3 minus 2. Before we do that, do you have any questions on the previous problem? Do we understand the previous problem? Yes? Okay, perfect. So now you're going to give me a restriction, which is, yes, and this is 2 over 1, and you're going to give me the least common denominator. Please. That's it. There is no adjustment for the first fraction, but what will be the adjustment needed for the second fraction? What it does not have in the denominator was y plus 3, exactly. And now please tell me what to write at the top.
4 plus 2.
Excellent,
Minus 2y minus 6.
excellent. Okay, and now when I simplify the top, I get negative y minus 4. I recommend factor out negative 1. What is left at the top when you factor out negative 1? Exactly. Since I put it outside, it's fine. So this, including that. I want you to work on 24, please. In 24, we have 7 over 2x minus 3 minus 3. And then I would like to look at 50. Do we need more time? Bless you. Can anyone get us started? Restriction. Perfect. Least common denominator. Adjustment for the second one.
So you only do the second one.
Because 2x minus 3 is not missing anything, right? It's the same thing. It's like saying 1/2 minus 1. The least common denominator is 2, but since it's the same, I don't need anything here. I only need it here, so 1 minus 2. That's okay. And now what do we have at the top?
Minus 6x plus 9.
Excellent. So it's negative 6x plus 16 divided by 2x minus 3. I recommend factor out that negative 2, and you get 3x minus 8 over 2x minus 3. Although I accept both. So you only multiply by what it does not have. Since it has the same thing, if you want, you can write, I'm multiplying it by 1. But I cannot do anything else. Okay. Okay, I would like to look at problem 50. I cannot stress enough, especially from this section between 1 and 60, I would do at least every other odd number problem, and check the answer in the back, at least. So I will do 1, I will skip 3, I will do 5, I will skip 7, I will do 9, I will skip 11, and so on and so forth. It's crucial, all this part. Okay, so 50. Negative 1 at the top, the denominator a minus 2 plus 4 divided by 4 minus 2a. Like before, since you know me a little bit, I'm going to ask you which of the two denominators I do not like.
4 minus 2.
Yes, it needs work. So first I have to rewrite it as negative 2a plus 4. Now it still needs work, which means I have to factor out negative 2. And I have what in parentheses? A minus 2. So now here is what I have. I have negative 1 at the top and a minus 2 in the denominator. Careful now. Plus 4 over negative 2 times a minus 2. Let's do this one more time, carefully. So I had the denominator 4 minus 2a. First of all, it was not arranged in descending order, so I had to rewrite it as negative 2a plus 4. Then it had another problem. It had a negative leading coefficient, so I had to factor out negative 2. So now the problem changed into this. No problem here, the same fraction. But this now is 4 over negative 2 times a minus 2. So the top is a positive number. The bottom is a negative number. What will I change this into? Yes, I have to do that first. So the new problem is negative 1 over a minus 2, but minus 4 over 2 times a minus 2. Each fraction can be simplified, but not before I write restrictions. In this case, I only have one restriction to write. 2. I am allowed to simplify the second fraction top and bottom by 2. I am allowed to do that because I'm simplifying a factor. And also, I am simplifying the whole thing. Now, it became an expression or an addition or subtraction in this case of two rational expressions with like denominators. I like that. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to find the LCD. It's already there. And the numerator now will be what? Exactly. Negative 1 minus 2, negative 3. They don't need any adjustments. Both fractions have the same denominator with the LCD, and this is it. So this is the final simplified form of that addition, subtraction, whatever it was. Any questions?
So the negative 1,
Yes.
you don't multiply that by the 2, which would be
No, no, because I already got rid of the 2. Otherwise, I would have. But I will have to find the least common denominator, which would be 2 times a minus 2. And at the end, that 2 will still simplify with the top. So I am allowed to simplify the fraction by itself if there is a factor that I can get rid of. In this case, I had 2 that I could get rid of. Assuming we don't get rid of 2. Okay, so assuming we have -1 over a minus 2 minus 4 over 2 times a minus 2, correct? Okay, now what is the LCD?
2.
Yes,
A minus 2.
yes. So what does this need?
A 2.
Right, the other one does not need anything because it's the same denominator. So then I have -2 minus 4, which is -6. But now I have to simplify a factor.
I'm still the same.
Oh, nobody could see anything. I was just talking to myself. Nice. So I had -2 minus 4, which was -6, and then I simplified by 2, and I get the same thing. Okay. I'd like to choose one more. Another one like the one that we just looked at, the twisted. Some of them are like that. 49. (49) 5 over 2 minus x plus x over 2x minus 4. From the entire semester, we are left with 2 sections. Section 7.5 and section 7.7. We will be able to finish that, I'm hoping, on Monday. Once we understand this section 7.4, you should have no difficulties in the last 2 sections. Can anyone tell me what to do first?
Negative x plus 2 and -1 x minus 2.
Excellent. That's the starting point. I have to work on 2 minus x. It doesn't fit anything else. It's a liability. So I have this. And I will have to what? Very good. Perfect. Now, the top is positive. The bottom is negative. What happens there? You will give me one restriction, and then you will tell me the least common denominator, please. 2. So 2 times x minus 2. Now I would like the adjustment for this. 2. Is there adjustment needed for the second one? No. Is that clear why? 2 and x minus 2. If you want, you can write a 1 if it makes you feel better. So what do we have at the top?
X plus 7.
Plus? Good. And I would like to rewrite it as x minus 10 divided by 2, x minus 2. Now, this is very easy to forget. If between now and Monday, you don't practice with at least every other, yes, Angie?
So why do I need to divide the -10?
Very good question. Because -10 is a term. If I see multiplication, if this, don't change anything. If this were this, x minus x times 10, I would have done it right away. But since these two are terms, they are terms.
So that's multiplied.
Exactly. Yes. This is even if this was plus or minus, I would still have not been allowed to simplify terms. Only factors. Good. Anything else? I'll stop here for tonight. On Monday, we will have one quiz and then finish up this chapter. And on Wednesday, we'll have one more quiz and review. And our fourth test will be a week from Monday, which I think is the 10th. And then we'll review for the final exam. Thank you. Please stay.